So my name is Brishen, and thank you all for attending the home buyer class tonight. I'm a residential realtor in Colorado Springs, and I got started in 2017. And since then, I have helped hundreds of people buy and sell over the past 8 years now. I service Colorado Springs and Teller County over to Woodland Park. So that'd be Colorado Springs and the surrounding areas. And then on this class with me tonight is Lisa, and she is a loan officer. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I'm Lisa Gross. I'm a loan officer with 0 Point Mortgage Services. I've been originating loans for over 26 years. I'm licensed in the entire state of Colorado, as well as Texas and California. So my philosophy in lending is the word no is not in my vocabulary. So if you're not ready yet, the answer may be not yet. And in that case, we'll put a plan together for you and whatever time frame works for you.
And as we go along, feel free to type in any questions you have in the chat box, or feel free to raise your hand with the Zoom button, and that way we know that you have a question. And as a home buyer, it is important to choose the right realtor and choose the right loan officer that can teach you and guide you and teach you everything that you need to be a buyer. So you don't have to remember everything we say tonight. There's going to be a lot of information. We're going to try and keep it concise because there's unlimited information to learn. So we're going to try and keep it concise as to what is important for the right now.
Okay, the American dream. There are so many benefits to home ownership. So first, stability. Owning a home provides stability and security. So you'll have control over your living space and you can establish roots in your community. Plus, with a fixed rate mortgage, your principal and interest never change. So no more landlord raising your rent. You'll build equity and wealth. Number two, real estate generally appreciates over time, potentially allowing homeowners to build equity and wealth. Your equity builds as you pay down the mortgage and your home increases in value. You may have tax advantages. You can benefit from the deductions on your taxes for your mortgage interest, your property taxes, and possibly other deductible expenses. Creative freedom. You'll have the freedom to personalize and modify your home to your own taste. So if you like green walls, you can paint the walls green. And you can put as many nail holes in the walls as you would like. And then lastly, pride of ownership. Owning a home is a big accomplishment, so you can certainly take pride in that.
So home ownership has a couple of steps, and we're going to give you the small version of how to do that. So step one is getting pre-approved. And of course, Lisa is my preferred loan officer. We've worked together for so many years now and helped so many buyers get their perfect home, whether it be the first home or their 20th home. And it's really important to find a loan officer that is good at their job and also has really good rates. So like if you have Wells Fargo or Bank of America, they're going to have the very highest rates because they have the most amount of overhead with buildings and employees and everything. So Lisa and I are business partners because we work well together with helping you find the right home and really good rates that are much more affordable than the other places. So you've probably heard the 7% and beyond. That is not the case right now. So don't worry about that. And so it is important to take control of your home buying process by getting your finances in order. And I'm going to let Lisa take over.
So let's go over the items that I'll review during your pre-approval. Before you begin shopping for your home, once again, before you begin shopping for the home, it's important to consider how much you can afford. So you'll want to think about all of your expenses beyond just the mortgage payment. Remember, you'll have the cost of upkeep, repairs, and utilities. So we'll consider your entire financial picture, and I will advise you regarding a loan program that best fits your needs. So here's a question for the group. True or false? You must have a large down payment to buy a home. So press the hand raise if you think the answer is true. Anybody?
And remember,
Okay, press the hand raise if you think the answer is false. Okay. And the false answers have it. So it's a myth that you have to put 20% down on a home. I have programs. We just actually rolled out a new program today that's a 0 down program. So there's many programs available where you can purchase a home with little or even no down payment. So limited savings does not have to be a roadblock to you owning a home. Okay, next step is to look at your credit. There are 5 factors that make up your credit score. So number 1, payment history, and number 2, amount owed, together carry the most weight and make up about 65% of your score. A high credit score indicates that you have paid your obligations on time over an extended period of time. It's best if you carry a mix of installment and revolving credit, so that would be your credit cards. But don't max out those cards. Try to keep your monthly balance below 30% of your limit. So if that's a challenge for you, just contact the creditor and ask them to increase your limit to help you keep your balance below 30%. And lastly, be mindful of how often you have your credit pulled, as numerous inquiries can also impact your score. Lenders consider your debt to income ratio also because it helps them to evaluate your ability to manage your debt. A lower ratio suggests that you have some disposable income, which makes you a lower risk to the borrower. On the other hand, a higher debt ratio could indicate financial strain and a higher likelihood of defaulting on your payment. So that's a higher risk to the lender. When applying for a mortgage, it's important to gather your documentation as early as possible. This is the number 1 thing you can do to create a smooth process for yourself. So the lender may ask for documents such as pay stubs, bank statements, possibly your federal tax return, your W-2s, and a government-issued ID. That would be your driver's license and or your passport. Depending on your situation, you may need to provide additional documentation as well. Things such as your divorce decree, bankruptcy, discharge papers, or proof of additional income sources. Once we have that, I can determine your purchase price that you're likely to qualify for, and I'll issue a pre-approval letter for you. Then you can proceed with the exciting part of your home buying journey, the shopping. Brishen gets the fun part, the shopping part.
So Lisa does all of the loan, the mortgage, the money, all the behind the scenes stuff. And I'm the one who is on the ground looking at all the houses with you. So we get to search for the house here in town, whatever fits your needs. So when it comes to advising a buyer, I like to learn what you are looking for. Every single person is different. If it's your first home, your second, your fifth, your 20th, it doesn't matter. Every single person has what they need and what they want according to what's going on in their life. So we go through that together. You let me know what you must have versus a want. And then we tour the homes together. And then when we find the right one, we make an offer. So step number 1, must-haves would be price point. type of property. Do you want a single family? Do you want a townhome? Do you want a condo? How many bedrooms, bathrooms? Do you need a garage? Do you just need a carport? Do you want a yard? Do you not want a yard? So those are all the must-haves. The wants would be, I want a granite countertop, but if I don't have it, I still love the house. I want a hardwood floor, but it has carpet and we can deal with that later. So those are the want versus need. So when it comes to making your list, in addition to the most important features, we need to worry about the location. So if it's on a busy road, it will be cheaper because busy roads do lower your property value, such as a loud train track or right next to the hospital with all of the ambulance. So anything loud will usually lower your property value. So it'll be cheaper to get in, but it won't appreciate, is the main downside to that. And does the school district have a good reputation? So whether you have kids or not, it doesn't matter. A really good school district will increase your property value, and nationwide, that's just how it goes when it comes to real estate. So do you have a growing family? Do you have a downsizing family? If you need a certain amount of bedrooms for family, that is something we consider. And planning for your future. Do you want this to be your forever home? Do you want to eventually rent it out? That is an option and totally allowed at most places. And how much maintenance does the home require? So if it's an older home, it will always financially be more expensive to own unless it's already been completely rehabbed. Furnaces, water heaters, roofs, and appliances have a life of around 15 to 25 years, for instance. So if we get a house that's only 25 years old, we could worry about the fact that almost everything expensive is about to break. And does it have a yard? So some people do not want yard work whatsoever. That is completely fine. And it does exist where we can get the rock scape, which is called hardscape or xeriscape. You could have a large yard if you do like to garden and you do want a yard, or a small yard. So all three of those are options here in town. And usually existing homes do have window blinds, not usually curtains, that can be considered someone's property, but some people just want to leave it because they don't want to deal with it. New homes do not have blinds, and there is an expense involved with buying and installing blinds. And the clothes washer and dryer is technically personal property, so they can take it with them or they can leave it. It's 50-50. There is definitely no right or wrong answer to it. And what about your lifestyle, your hobbies, your job, your friends, your family? And all of that also goes into choosing your house, just like everything else that you've lived in before, like a rental or a family home. All of that stuff fits into your daily habits and routine. So let's say we find the perfect home and we get the house under contract. So that means we submitted an offer on the property. Seller is happy with the offer, with the price, terms, and closing date. And then we're under contract. And a typical contract is 30 days. It can be shorter, it can be longer, but the industry standard is 30 days. And so then the contract will be submitted to the lender for the full loan process. So before you get pre-approved, to know what you can purchase and what you can expect of a monthly payment. And that would be monthly payment for taxes, insurance, and the principal of the house. And that's your monthly payment. And then we schedule the property inspection, and that's a very long process, so I'm not going to get into the weeds on that one. And the loan officer will order the appraisal to secure the price of the contract. So the contract says X number of dollars, then we need the appraisal to secure with that. And then once all those conditions are met, the lender will clear your loan to close. Lisa, did you have anything else to say on that one?
Only that's my favorite part, is getting to make that exciting phone call to let you know that loan is clear to close and we can move on to the closing table.
Yeah, that is definitely the fun part. And the other most fun part is when everything is done and you are at closing day. So closing day, everything is absolutely done. And now we just go to the title company, sign the closing documents. It takes about an hour. You get the keys, move in, it's your home, and throw the party and start moving in, doing whatever you need to do. So that is definitely the best part of the process. So now we are going to get more into the weeds, and Lisa is going to teach you about what to do and what not to do with the loan process.
Okay, so this is basically just a list of things that you might want to remember to do once you're ready to start this process. So you will want to disclose all of your relevant information to your lender. The lender doesn't like surprises, and you will not like surprises either when you're going through this process. So you want to communicate everything that the lender might possibly need to know. You want to save your money. You want to continue making all your payments on time. This is definitely not the time once you start this process to skip any payments. You want to contact your insurance agent early in the process to get that insurance set up, your homeowner's insurance. Once the lender issues the disclosures, you can e-sign those documents. You want to do that promptly. You want to provide the documentation promptly as well. And you should expect requests for additional documentation throughout the process. Underwriters always come up with additional things they need you to document, and that is a normal part of the process. But if you have any questions at all, it's important to just contact your lender and communicate about those things. There's also a list here of important things that you want to make sure you do not do. So make sure that you do not start shopping for your house before you have the pre-approval. You don't want to go out and get your heart set out on a home and then not be able to qualify for that home. Make sure you don't apply for any new credit or take out any new loans once you start the process. Make sure you don't co-sign for anyone else's loan, because that will count against you. Make sure you don't change bank accounts once you start this process or make large deposits into your account. Make sure you're not moving money around, transferring balances. Don't max out or overcharge your credit cards. It's definitely not the time to do that. And don't quit or change your job. The lender will verify that you're still employed immediately prior to closing. So that's not a good time to find out that you've left your job or changed jobs. And definitely do not stress. So we got you, we're here for you. No need to stress. And here's a few other bits of information that just might be helpful for you to think about. I'll just share these briefly. We can discuss them all in more detail later. You'll have access to all the common loan programs, conventional, FHA, VA, jumbo, and down payment assistance programs. So during your pre-approval process, we'll go over all those programs and which program is best for your situation. For loans with less than a 20% down payment, just know that you will have mortgage insurance. If you need to discuss more about what mortgage insurance is, we can certainly do that. You should expect some upfront fees and out-of-pocket expenses. That would include things like earnest money, inspection fee, appraisal fee, things like that. The closing costs that are associated with buying a home, and these are closing costs associated with buying a home and obtaining your loan. If you are low on funds, money's tight, sometimes those costs can be negotiated with your seller. So we can discuss that option if you need that. And lastly, immediately following this webinar, and before you ever have a credit report pulled, I strongly recommend you visit this website, www.optoutprescreen.com. Make a note of that, whether you ever apply for a loan or not. It's a good idea to do that. You'll just want to do the 5-year electronic opt-out option, and that'll save you from a ton of unwanted solicitations that will be triggered once you have a credit report pulled?
So we kept it short and sweet. Believe me, this could have been a whole lot longer, but Lisa and I have worked together for a long time, and we do work well together as a team. So it really is that easy. You get pre-approved, find out what you can purchase, we go shopping, and close and move in. I've had some people, we can get this done in 30 days because they have to find a house. And I have other people, it takes them a year because they don't need to find a house. It is all up to you and what you need, and we move at your pace. So does anyone have any questions that we have not addressed? So you are allowed to unmute yourself and ask something, and no question is a stupid question. It absolutely doesn't matter. Anything you need to know about, like if we need to talk more about a particular type of loan or the home shopping process, it's totally okay to bring that up, or you can type it in the chat box. Whatever you want to do is totally fine. Did you guys learn anything?
Hello, is anybody out there?
Hopefully we taught you something at least. So again, my name is Brishen, and I've been a realtor here in Colorado Springs for 8 years now. And in that time, I have helped hundreds of buyers and sellers. So I have an online presence on Zillow, Realtor.com, and Google Maps. So you can see that I am a real person and an actual realtor. And you can see all of the reviews of helping people from the first-time home buyers to the empty nesters that are 80 years old. So I can adapt to whatever your situation is and help you. And I have a calendar link, and you can click on that and book a consultation. So that way it's private and not public like this, if that doesn't make you feel comfortable. And I will copy and paste this into the chat box. Oh, Lisa, there's a question. Does the 0 down payment mean higher interest rate?
Not always. Some programs do, and some programs we have are at the market rate. So it really just depends which program you qualify for. We probably have 6 or 8 different options when it comes to 0 down. So definitely book an appointment with me, and I'd love to look at which of those programs you might qualify for and what the interest rate would be.
Yeah, that way, like we're saying, if you don't want it to be public and you want it to be private, I'm going to copy and paste her link right.
One example, we had a brand new program, if you qualify for that one, that actually was just rolled out today. And I checked the rate on that for the home buyer that I was talking with, and their specific credit score, the interest rate was at 6.5. So that's really kind of market rate right now. And it's really a good rate for 100% loan. So I would encourage you to give me a call or schedule an appointment, and we can explore the rate on that for you.
Can you run some quick numbers? Like what if it is a $400,000 purchase with, like, do you have your mortgage calculator? We could give them an example.
Of a rate?
Yeah. Or of like a monthly payment.
Yeah, that would be super helpful.
Sure.
Yeah. So like if it's 200, 300, 400,000, for instance, and taxes here in town are very similar to each other. So if you're getting an existing home, you should expect anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 a year in property tax. It depends on where it is in town, how old it is. Older homes always have less taxes. I don't know why, but they just do. I've seen older homes with taxes as low as 900 a year. But then down south in Banning Lewis Ranch, they have the highest taxes at anywhere from 54,000 to 5,300 a year because no, I meant sorry, Lorson Ranch, which is down south. So because they're still building curb and gutter, buried the utility lines and so forth, they have the most expensive property taxes. But everything else in El Paso County is 1,500 to 2,500 on average. But like I have a listing right now, it's 445,000 and the taxes are only $900 a year. I don't know why, it just is very, very affordable. And home insurance, you can expect to spend, I think it's around $150 a month for a single family home. And let's say we're shopping for a townhome or a condo. So I'm sure you've seen online, the townhome or the condo has 200, 300 a month HOA. So those houses, because they are physically attached to each other, they have to share an insurance policy. So even though it sounds like it's expensive, you're not paying that $150 a month in insurance that you would be with a single family home. So think of it kind of like a wash. And then if you're doing a condo or a townhome, sometimes you get a pool, a rec center, a gym. You know, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. They're all completely different from each other. There is no rule, if you will. They always will have common ground areas for walking and grass and trees and walking paths. They'll always at least have that. And they are typically 150 to 300 a month for the HOA, which covers all exterior. So you do absolutely nothing. It is 100% taken care of with those monthly fees, the grass, the trees, the siding, the roof, all of that. But if you own a condo or townhome, you own the inside. So you are responsible for the windows and doors because you technically own those. And like the air conditioning condenser that could be sitting outside in the yard, the furnace, the water heater, but you do not own the outside. So if it needs paint or hail damage, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff at all. So I have people that absolutely love it because they want a maintenance-free life. They don't want to hassle with it. And I have other people that just want a small yard, a large yard. Like I've heard it all, you know, and it's totally fine. Everyone is different, and that's just the way it goes. So I hope that kind of explains that a little bit. Lisa, were you able to come up with
just looking at some payments here on a 400,000 purchase price. If you're trying to do the 100% down, depending on how much the taxes and insurance, one negative to those programs is the mortgage insurance can get pretty high. So you might be looking at about maybe $2,900 a month on that 100% loan, as opposed to like an FHA loan where you put down 3.5%, which on a 400,000 purchase price is 14,000. Then you probably get your payment down around maybe 2,700.
Okay, another question came through. What minimum range of your credit score should you start the process? So what credit score?
Yeah, I mean, there are some loans available for scores as low as a 550, but ideal is if you can get it up to at least a 620, and 640 is even better. If you can get it up into the 700s, then you're going to qualify for a lot more programs. So there's options in the low 500s, possibly depending on why your score's that low. But the higher we get your score, the more options that opens up to you.
Do you have any tips for getting the credit score up quickly?
Yes. So there's lots of things you can do. Credit utilization is a big one. So you want to pay your credit cards off in full if you can every month. And even if you can make multiple payments throughout the month so that when your credit cards report to the credit bureau, it's reporting that lower balance. So that's one important thing to do is keep those credit card balances reporting at least 30% or less of your limit. So another way to accomplish that, like I mentioned before, is just contact your creditors on your credit cards and have them raise the limit. So whatever balance you have will will be reflected as 30% or less. And then another thing is if you don't have a lot of credit established, you can open a credit card. If you can't get a credit card, you can open a secured credit card. So you would just contact your bank and ask for a secured credit card. The amount is not what's important. The payment history is important. So even if it's a $500 secured credit card, you put up the $500 and then you pay yourself back, and that helps to establish credit. And then the third and last thing I would say on credit is you can add yourself as an authorized user if you have a family member who has established credit and they're willing to add you to one of their accounts. That will help establish a credit history for you if you don't have a significant credit history.
How long does it typically take to fix credit that's lower?
Yeah, every scenario is different. It just depends on why your score is low. Sometimes it can take longer if you just don't have much depth of credit and you're establishing new credit. Sometimes if you have a lot of derogatory information, it's just a matter of establishing more positive trade lines to offset the negative. So we just have to look at your credit report and see, what needs to happen to get that score up and put together a plan. It may take a month, it may take 6 months, it may take 12 months.
Okay, here's another question. What if one has, I guess one person, what if one has good credit from only a few credit cards, not a huge credit history? Does that matter? So what if you have
good credit, you just don't have a lot of credit? So I would just pull the report and see what score is reporting. And if it's too low just because you haven't established enough credit, and it might surprise you, it may not be low. If you have established enough to at least get a score, it may be a positive score. If you're trying to get it up, probably about 2 to 3 credit cards plus at least 1 installment loan will establish enough credit to get you a score in the high 600s or maybe even low 700s.
Yeah, so I have a pretty good credit score, and I tried to buy a car some time ago, and they were like, my credit score is just based on credit cards and not a huge payment like a car. So they were hesitant to approve the loan.
I
So,
see.
yeah, I ended up being able to buy the car anyway. But my question is, a house loan is much larger than a car loan. So, does it matter that I've not taken a huge loan like that before?
I'm sorry, I missed the last part of the question.
So
Does
he's
it?
saying that, I guess what you're saying is, you've only bought a car, you've never bought a house. So I
Mhm.
guess maybe he's asking about the debt to income ratio is probably,
Is that what the problem was? The debt ratio was too high?
No, my credit score showed that I paid my credit cards on time and stuff like that.
Yes.
But those were like about 10,000 credit line. So
Mm-hmm.
it felt like um that is not proof enough for them to give me a 24,000 loan. So
Yeah.
my question is based on that, is it will you have a problem giving me a $400,000 loan?
So it just depends what credit score is established. And
Okay,
I'd have to review your credit report to see if we need to make some changes to that to help you qualify for the loan. So we'd
okay,
look at your credit score and your debt ratio. What percentage of your income is going towards your monthly payments?
okay, got it.
yes,
Thanks.
Okay.
definitely click on the calendar link so each of
Yes.
you can have a formal appointment with Lisa, and you don't have to physically go anywhere. It is just a phone call and I guess online
On,
application.
Right.
You don't have to physically go to her office. So it's super convenient.
Okay, will do. Thanks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any questions about the loan process, the house shopping process, timeline? Anything else we haven't covered yet? I don't see any other questions in the chat.
Okay, well, thank you for your questions.
Yeah, it definitely is fun when you ask questions. So it's fun to have the back and forth and engage. Appreciate that.
I have another question for you, Brishen. I helped a friend some time ago to shop for a house, and we found a couple of houses we wanted, but we're not able to get them because uh people people gave better offers than we did. How is the market now? Is it easy to like just give an offer and get a house, or it takes
Yes.
longer?
Yes. So you were probably shopping during the 2.5% and 3% interest rate days.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
was
Mhm.
that was the hardest. I worked 12 hours a day every day for 2.5 years. It was absolutely the hardest I have ever had to work in my life. And yes, I would go shopping with people. We would get outbid up to 8 times in a row because we were up against cash buyers or the hedge fund in California that has billions of dollars. Those days are gone. You do not have to worry about that anymore. I honestly barely even see houses get under contract at full list price anymore. So whether I have the buyer or the seller, we pretty much do not offer list price. The only time you offer list price is when it's a new build. So a new build is like you go to the grocery store, you want milk and eggs, you're going to pay for milk and eggs. There are no discounts. So new builds are the exact same way. You want that house with the granite and the fancy appliances, you will pay for it. So existing homes are the only ones where you get lower than list price. Okay, so
I have a comment on your question too. So that's why this is the perfect time to buy a house, exactly what you just said. There's a saying in our industry, marry the house and date the rate. So a lot of people are waiting because the interest rates are a little higher than they have been. That gives you the opportunity to get out there and find your house and not have as many people to compete with. You can always refinance that rate after rates come down, but you don't have to pay more for the house because you're competing with the other 500,000 people literally that will jump back into the market after rates drop. You'll already be living in your home, and then you'll just call me back and we'll do a simple refinance for you after those rates drop.
yeah, it's actually fun to go shopping now because you
Mhm.
can see the houses right now. Like if I just look on the MLS for single family homes, not even including townhomes and condos, in all of El Paso County, there are 1,600 houses to choose from, all the way from obviously the cheapest to the most expensive, but 1,600 is a lot to choose from, believe
Mhm.
me. So once we
Wow.
start narrowing it down to what you want, there's still like 50 to choose from. And then it's almost overwhelming because now you have so much to choose from. So right now, you get the house you want rather than the house that no one else wanted. So that's why it's actually fun to go shopping right now. But these are all really good questions, and these are all really smart questions because this is the kind of things that do happen in real life as a buyer.
I came across something on Instagram where it said like that you could also put a business put your home under your business. Is that a good way? Is that a good route to actually go? Because I've seen a couple of postings going across that, even where they say you could even just buy the land and build the house ground up.
So do you mean like having a home, an office in your home, or what do you mean?
Yes. So I own a coffee company. My wife owns a wig company. Um, and her wig company is a startup one. And I would, because I saw those postings, I had thought about purchasing a house, but putting it under the business name.
So my CPA, so I have 3 houses. I have my primary and I have 2 rental houses. So I also help people invest because I had an Airbnb for 5 years and then I have full-time tenants in my other. And my CPA told me that if it's your primary house, you want it to be your primary house because then you get to avoid capital gains. All right. But the rental houses, because I do not live there, those are going to have to eventually be a 1031 exchange. So buy the house for X number of dollars, sell it for a couple 100,000 profit, and that couple 100,000 profit is what gets taxed at capital gains. But you do a 1031 exchange and defer those taxes. So if your house was purchased in an LLC, for instance, then you'd have to talk to a CPA, but I'm pretty sure you don't want to do that for your primary because then you risk paying capital gains unless you do a 1031 exchange. So you have to physically live in a house as your primary according to taxes for a minimum of 2 years and then sell on that next day. So 2 years and 1 day is when you can sell, make a profit up to 250,000 per person, but you have to be married. Well, I guess if you're both on the title, it'd be 250 per person. So you could make up to a $500,000 profit tax free of capital gains, which I think is like 20%. So 20% of 500,000 is $100,000 just poof gone going to taxes. So you don't want to do that. So that's why my CPA said own your primary house as your house, have a home office. So your home office can be so many square feet, and then that becomes your tax write-off. So I have a home office. My husband has a home office. We both work for ourselves. My husband owns a remodeling business and he specializes in kitchens and bathrooms. So that's the other thing. I know a lot about houses compared to other realtors because he's been remodeling kitchens and bathrooms and plumbing and electric for 10 years now professionally. So I can help you with that. I hope that answers your questions. I know that was like a super long answer. Mark, did that
Oh
help?
no, it answered it. But also, where do you see the market being at? Because my wife and I, we have basically 5 children. Um,
Wow.
three now, three now, 2 on the way. So where do you see
Oh,
the market at
congratulations.
being? Thank you. Where do you see the market being at for us to have a house that big? And it's her and I actually are trying to fix our credit right now. We both got our credit scores close to 600, but still a little bit under. I eliminated a lot of stuff off of my credit reports by disputing a lot of stuff, and I've been at it for about 6 months now.
So
Now
if I can just interject before we get too far into that question, 2 things. Did you do the disputes yourself through the credit bureau?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I called each credit bureau, had them send me a report. I went through all 3 reports, making sure they had matching information, and
Okay.
then I went and started doing the disputes, having them remove names and information that was on my reports that wasn't me or that I
Yes.
didn't recognize.
Okay.
I ended up seeing something on Instagram where it said that I was able to go through and have them remove inquiries off of there. So I went and did that. So
Uh-huh.
now I pretty much don't have anything on my credit report. I worked with self.com,
Yes,
that little repair thing. I mean, credit
yes,
rebuilder. I did that. I got one of their credit cards. And then I got a secured credit card with Capital One Bank. And so
good.
and also another secured with Maverick Bank. So I've been trying to work with those and keeping my balance low.
Good job.
If I end
So
up
you
using the
want to
card, if
make
I end up using the whole card,
sure,
I'll pay it all off.
you just want to make sure that any trade lines that you disputed, once you dispute them, that dispute needs to be resolved before you submit a loan application. So if it's still showing disputed but nothing resolved, then you
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure you see that process through and that the Bureau makes a decision about the dispute. If they are unable to verify the disputed information, then that dispute will need to be removed before you'll be able to get a loan because it's being excluded from the credit score. So
Okay.
just check those items that you disputed and make sure that there's been some sort of resolution to each dispute.
Okay.
And that's
Yes, that's
really good that you're checking directly through the credit bureaus because those are going to be the most accurate scores. The other place, if you want to get a tri-merge report of all three bureaus, when you apply for a loan, the lender's going to use the middle score of the three bureaus. So you can get a tri-merge report where all three bureaus are merged at the only place you can get a true merged FICO score. That's at www.annualcreditreport.com. You can get a free credit report there annually. If you want the scores, you do have to pay a small fee, but that's going to be the most accurate place to get it.
And then the other answer to your question about the housing has been staying steady for about a year now. So the interest rates at the level that they've been, what, Lisa, 2.5 years now that we've been in the 6s and the 7s. So it's been staying steady. It's not skyrocketing like it was. Like when it was 3% interest rate, houses went up 40% in like seriously 6 months. It was crazy, but it really actually did happen. And then because of COVID, we had appliance shortages, wood, so you couldn't even build a house. That was a shortage. So because of the shortage, supply and demand, we had a 40% increase all over the entire United States. Like I have friends and family in all different communities, and yes, everything went up about 40% everywhere, but it is still in the 6s and it fluctuates a tiny bit all the time. But what is it, like 6.2 is the lowest nowadays, Lisa?
In that between 6 and 6.5.
Yeah, so depending on credit score and debt to income ratio and so forth, and depending on the day. So the Federal Reserve, they come out with their meetings, I think quarterly, if they're going to raise or lower interest rates. And so that's a really important meeting and it's always in the news. And if they say they're going to keep it steady or lower it, I'm sure you've heard it in the news every quarter for the past couple of years now. And when they are not lowering it because they're trying to get inflation under control, because that is credit card, the loan on a house, the loan on a car, the loan on a boat, a motorcycle, anything that you need credit for. So they're trying to get the inflation under control. So that's why I think if we shop for a house now, all the way until probably December, I think we should be okay. I haven't heard anything that it's going to drop drastically and create the frenzy again.
We are expecting gradual rate improvement, so that's perfect. This is the perfect timing to be buying a house.
Yeah, and like I said, all of my deals have been anywhere from 10 to 40,000 off of list price. And then it still appraises. So let's say house is 400,000 and we get it under contract for 380. It's never going to be crazy. It's never going to be 40, 50,000 off, because you think of it as a ratio. If it's $1 million house and you take 50 off, it's about the same ratio as a $400,000 off with 20 off. Okay. So you just can't take a large amount off and think the seller is going to be okay with that. The sellers have their bottom line and they will wait until they find the right buyer. They're not just going to give their house away for the fun of it. So I hope that helps.
yes, thank you.
These are all really good questions. I like the engagement. It's fun to have, questions and answers. And I do like the new build process. I have done about 50 new builds over the years, but they are not cheap. So like right now, just today, I was working with a buyer. She wants to spend only a max of 400,000. She wants 3 bed, 2 bath, 2 car garage. And I only found 3 houses in all of town. Single family house, there was 3. Otherwise, 440 to 500 is more of the norm of a brand new house where move-in ready, you don't have to do anything. So 430, I'd say. And then if you want like the 5 bed, closer to 500. So I really like Challenger Homes. They are my favorite for what's called a production builder. So they own the entire neighborhood and then they build the homes. They're not custom. You can't find a piece of land and they'll build for you. That does not work that way. So they own the land and then they have 8 different floor plans to choose from. And usually the interior has already been defined and that's how they can keep the prices low. This one is going to be gray. This one is going to be tan. This one's going to have quartz. This one's going to have granite. So they pretty much do what's tried and true and comfortable for everyone, incredibly neutral. And almost all of them have air conditioning now. Before they didn't, you had to upgrade and pay for it. Now they just build it in because they know everyone wants it. Blinds, sometimes you can wrap it into the loan, sometimes you can't. Like if it's called a spec home, they build it on spec, knowing what they think people are going to like. And Oakwood, who's in Banning Lewis Ranch, I have one of those going right now. It's only going to be 4 months from start to finish. And that one is 4 bed, 3 bath, 2 car garage. And we got it under contract for 480 because he upgraded and wanted some more finer features for, just one and done. If you upgrade in the design center, it ends up being more affordable than removing it and upgrading later. So they have the entry appliance package or the more pro level appliance package. And it's like only $1,000 difference kind of thing. So like I said, I've done about 50 new builds over the years. It's a really great experience. I highly recommend it. And Oakwood, they're building them as fast as 4 months. You can expect anywhere from 4 to 6 months to get a new build. So it's a pretty fast process considering they're going from dirt of absolutely nothing to closing and moving and ready. Like they're really good at what they do. So Challenger and Oakwood are the most affordable in town. Everyone else, they're in the 5s and the 6s and maybe all the way up to the 700s. And Colorado Springs is the most affordable. Monument is more expensive. Banning Lewis Ranch, which is out east, as you probably know, is also affordable. That's where Oakwood is. So Oakwood owns Banning Lewis Ranch. And so they are the builder. Everything else is sold out because they've been building for about, I think, 10 years now. And yeah. So do you guys have any other questions? I know all of El Paso County. I have shown thousands and thousands of houses over the years. I've seen it all.
Can you work on a new build for like a year out?
No. The only new builds that take a year are semi-custom and they are $1 million.
Okay.
Yeah. So because of everything changing with pricing, like think about a refrigerator today versus 6 months from now, the price
Mhm.
might change. Same with wood and the patio material, the paint. That's why they can't secure the price for a whole year.
Okay.
If we get the house under contract today at a price, they will not change the price on you. Whereas during the 3% days and the lumber shortage, they did change the price and they said, our cost is 20,000 more. You need to pay it or we are going to cancel you and go get a different buyer. And legally they had that right.
One exception to that would be a loan program called a one-time close construction loan. We do offer that. If you purchase some land and you have a custom home builder that wants to build a home on that land for you, that's very different than like the tract home builders that Brishen just described. There's more expenses involved with that, but it can be done. You can actually close on the loan and then the builder would have up to a year to complete the construction.
Okay.
Yeah. And that'd be the custom home process.
Right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And custom homes will always be more expensive. I think custom homes are around 250 to 400 a foot on average. So have you seen otherwise, Lisa?
It just depends on your builder, and you can even do some self-build if you have building experience in some cases. So there's a wide range of what I see in construction budgets.
Oh, so you can loan on a self-build?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay, that's good to know. Do you guys have any other questions? Is anyone ready to start shopping now, or do you still have a couple of months down the road?
I
My wife and I say it'll be a couple of months.
Okay. Then-
yeah, I'm living in a rental property and I need to be out of here by the end of July, so I'm considering my options.
Okay.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Yeah.
2.5 months.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we do have our cell phones here on the, on the slide here, and both Lisa and I work from our cell phone. We're not banking hours. You can call or text us on a Saturday or a Sunday and ask to get, connected with your needs. But having a meeting with Lisa is definitely step number one, as we discussed, so that we know. And Lisa and I, we're not going anywhere. We live and work here. So if it's now or 6 months from now or 2 years from now, it does not matter. We're happy to help any way we can that works out with your timeline. And then I'll put our cell phones in the chat box. All right, Lisa. All right, and then mine. Okay, so I put our contact info in the chat box. And then we'll follow up with all you and, make sure all of your questions are answered and any way that we can help. So that's our goal number one, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
All right, well, if there's no more questions, I'm gonna end the meeting. And like I said, absolutely call or text us anytime, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.